I reached for my phone this morning to call my mom, and then I remember she passed. Then when I opened my eyes, I looked for my dog Paddington, and then I remember he passed. Every day, these two memories, my brain thinks that they're here. Neuroscience explains why this happens during grief. There's actually a science behind this, why every day I go to call my mom or look for my dog. The brain maps these activities out. I've been doing them for so long, it's like my brain becomes the body. It expects when I wake up in the morning to see my dog Paddington or to call my mom. These are actually called neuro maps. Mary Frances O'Connor is a neuroscientist who has said the world's going on at once. Reality world and a virtual reality world. The reality world of your loved one not being there, and the virtual reality world in her brain thinking that they're there. She was doing brain scans, put photos of the loved one that they lost. She notices that the part of the brain is ignited as if the person is here, ignites the same while they're looking at the photo. Her conclusion was, it's not the amount of grief that you're suffering, how long you've been missing them for. The determination of how long grief lasts is really how much you are yearning for them. Eventually what happens, the absence of them being there has to be greater than the memory of thinking that they're there. And that is when you know you're moving through grief. That brain is actually living in two realities at one time. Imagine that you have walked through your home so many times, hundreds of times, that in the middle of the night when you're going to get a glass of water, you know where to go. You just walking through the middle of the night. Imagine that someone took your dining room table. Now, no one's really going to take your dining room table. And you walk into the kitchen in the middle of the night expecting to maybe bump into the dining room table. You think it's there, but it's not there. Our brain has the ability to sense things because of our neural pathways, so we can sense that a wall is there. We could sense that a dining room table is there. What happens when it's really absent? What's going on with the brain to think that the dining room table is there when it's actually not? Imagine your life as a stage. You have all the actors set up. You have your family, you have your parents, your siblings, your animals, friends. Think about your life as a play. And your brain is actually the director. In real theater, you actually study the script. You know your lines. You know where to stand. You know when it's time for you to be on stage. Now imagine right before the play opens up in the theater, the producers cancel the play. This is a metaphor for your life when someone you care for passes away. Because every day you wake up expecting to turn over and say hello to the person, your loved one, your partner in life. Say hi to a best friend or a parent. And your brain is mapped to be able to do that. It is doing that. Just like the producers of the play ripped up that script, now what's happened, someone passes, the script of your life also just got ripped up. The brain runs on a prediction system. It doesn't just stop when someone dies. So if I've been doing this same thing over and over, and it's part of what I do every day, my brain is predicting that. When someone dies or passes away, the brain is still in that prediction system, doesn't know that that person died. The brain had a collision. It is trying to decipher the reality of the person not being there and the memory of that person being there. There's a collision where there's two realities going on in one time. The brain is actually able to process two streams of information at one time. Both of these streams of information can't be true. So there's a collision in the brain where it's trying to figure out what's going on. And this is part of the grief process. How long does grief last? There's no exact time frame. The brain needs to rewire. The grief is still there. Imagine a piece of paper, a blank piece of white paper, and in the middle of it is a dollop of black paint, maybe about this much, a black paint. That's the grief. It doesn't go away. Then imagine a ring around that black paint, a color with a rainbow. Then another ring around that of a color with a rainbow, till eventually you have this round dollop of black paint with the rainbow color of circles around it. What that rainbow represents is new memories you're making, new relationships you are forming. When the new relationships, new memories, new activities in your life start to become greater than the amount of time you spent on grief, that is when the grief process starts to diminish. In order to understand grief, we must understand love first. There's something called attachment bonds. These are formed when you have a very strong emotional connection. It could be with anyone. It could even be with someone at work. The feeling I had when I held my daughter for the first time. That emotional bond is so strong. That's called an attachment bond. When somebody dies that we are attached to, psychologists call this continuing bonds. When the relationship that we have with the person who has passed, it continues. However, the brain has to reprocess it because that person is no longer physically here. As long as you have an attachment bond, you will have grief. The brain has to now rewire itself to now change the dynamic of how you communicate with that person. Kabbalah explains that when someone dies, it is the body that dies, the vessel, because the vessel is the body that holds the soul, but the soul lives on. And when I correlate this to the concept of continuing bonds, this correlates to Kabbalah that the soul lives on. We just can't see them anymore. What we know is different. Our norm as we know it has just changed. Can light come out of the darkness after grief? Grief is pretty sad. I was carrying the stress of taking care of my dad and then my mom, my dog. Being a mom, a lot was on my plate. Now my brain is rewiring because my dad, my mom, and my dog are no longer here. However, I have my daughter. The other day I said to her, "You're being so sweet." And she replied, she always responds to me based on how I speak with her. By the time I would say, "Oh, I realize how stressed I am. I have so much on my plate," it was already too late. She was feeling non-physical energy, that vibration I was putting out there. I was putting out there to her that she was responding to how I speak to her. And now I feel like our communication is much sweeter. There is sweetness that can come after grief. Good can come out of bad. Not that death is bad, it's just a transition. But there is light that comes after darkness. What is your moment when it comes to grief? Do you wake up in the morning and look over to see your loved one only to realize they're not there? Do you call someone every day and realize, wait, they've passed? I'd love to hear from you and hear what your moment is and what continuing bond is happening for you. If you like what you've heard and helped in any way, please subscribe.